Racing Jake is promising something pretty incredible with his new Prestine Peaks limiter. So I want to take a look at that thing today. So Racing Jake isn't just a plugin developer, he also runs a studio. He offers audio mixing, mastering and audio for video. He only has a few plugins, and one of his plugins that I really liked was the Sideminder. Oh yeah, it's not snake oil because this guy over here, which looks like a young version of me, says it. So Sideminder was pretty good. It wasn't snake oil, and the fact that he is now made a limiter which he calls an ultra low distortion peak limiter makes me want to hope it's true. But on the other hand, like, low distortion peak limiting, I haven't really seen that a lot. Like, if you really go for that high loudness, which isn't really needed, I think I'm going to need to make a t-shirt with -14 LUFS and -1 dB true peak. If you would buy that t-shirt, let me know, because then I'll make it. But for the people that still wanna destroy their dynamic range, having an ultra low distortion limiter can really help. And what they're saying here is that they are not using aliasing, and they promise less than 0.005% total harmonic distortion at any gain reduction amount, 20 Hz to 20 kHz with intersampling peaks on. And what they're saying here, there's small asterisks, steady state measurements. What I think a steady state measurement is measuring it on a sine wave. And, you know, doing gain reduction on a sine wave without any distortion, I mean, that shouldn't be difficult, because that's basically just pulling your fader down. I think it gets difficult as soon as, you know, the thing starts moving. And I also think, but I'm not a plugin engineer, but it's something that I've experienced, I do think that the distortion from limiters actually come from the movement, not from the actual limiting process. I mean, that's logical. Unless you're using like clipping technology or something, which might be needed. Anyway, they have an oversampling option for ISP detection, which is also pretty much needed if you want to make a low distortion limiter. Like, oversampling is basically, you need it. Linear phase input high pass filter. I don't know what type of filter it is. Is it like a super brick wall filter or not? The fact that it's linear phase actually worries me a little bit, because how about ringing? Like pre-ringing and stuff, and like if it's like a really steep filter, it's kind of up to 10 decibels of limiter drive gain, peak hold meters that capture the max gain reduction, mono stereo channels. Well, this is everything. This is everything that he's saying about this thing, because the other text on here is about a different plugin. So I'm going to run the demo. I actually already have it installed. This is it. This is it. It's really small. It's really small. Pretty simple user interface. It's got some mountains in the back because we're peak limiting. And yeah, we've got our high pass filter gain ceiling release, in-sample peaks, bypass, and our dithering. It's really that simple. So let's see what it can do, and let's start with a dancey type of track, which probably isn't Sandstorm by the Root, but it's still called that. All right, let's get some limiting in there. Let's get some limiting in there. Good, 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 good. Oh, that's not bad. Actually need more gain here. I need more gain. Can I go to 12? No, it doesn't do that. Yeah, it's difficult to compare always. Like, oh, that's a long linear phase filter. I don't hear any pre-ringing, so that's good. I do hear some distortion on that bass drum, but that's not from the limiter because I still hear it. All right, that's like what it's supposed to do. I'm not sure if this limiter is capable of getting into really high loudness things. I just basically don't do it. I actually think it's a good idea to not show on camera how to make tracks like incredibly loud, because I think it's just bad practice. And by showing it on camera, I would basically fund the loudness war. And I don't want to do that anymore. I know that I did it a few years ago. There are probably some videos from me showing how to pump up things really loud, but I'm not doing it anymore. So this limiter would be a good first step, but I'm not going to show you how to go further after this, because you just shouldn't make it loud. Just don't do it. All right, last instrument that I want to try on this is grand piano, because if you want to hear distortion or want to hear weird audio artifacts or stuff, use a grand piano. And I'm going to limit the shiznit, as my colleague would say, out of this. And there we go. There's your distortion. There's your distortion. So. And this is basically just from the limiter constantly adjusting. It's not from the limiting process itself. It's basically from the transition between different gain reduction amounts. Now, would that mean that the ultra low distortion claim is snake oil? No and yes. I think in a shootout that this limiter can do better than other limiters when it comes to distortion. On the other hand, it's difficult to shoot out limiters because, for instance, a FET filter already has two different stages in there. So it has a slow and a fast stage in there. So it would already prevent that. And you would get a completely different compressing and limiter characteristic and also loudness when using, for instance, that plugin compared to this one. So maybe this one will distort less on like 10 decibels of gain, but because it has different timing and different way of compressing, it doesn't really yield the same result as a different limiter. So it's difficult to really compare like, hey, which limiter distorts the both, because if you're really in it for loudness, which you shouldn't be, again, don't be in the game for loudness, just master it correctly and give your listener the pleasure to enjoy some dynamics. You know, don't do it. Just don't do it. You know, thinking about this, why am I doing this? Yeah, this limiter is ultra low distortion, and as soon as it's not snake oil. Yeah, I've thought about it. It's not snake oil, because as soon as you're going to hear distortion in this thing, you are basically up and you're just interested in loudness and not creating a good dynamic listening experience for the people that are going to listen to your music, for your clients, your fans. And what a lot of people basically like to do is say F you fans, by just giving them like a constant stream of like loud music. It's not snake oil. I think it's doing a great job. Does have some distortion if you really drive it, but let's be honest, don't do that. So it's getting the benefit of the doubt just because of that. And I mean, limiting a grand piano. Stupid. All right, for the disclosure, I did get a few emails from the community, and that's why I'm looking at this thing. I'm not in contact with Raising Jake, and I was running the demo, and I do have a pretty good feeling that I can be independent because of that. Now, if you appreciate my independence and want to support it, you can do that in different ways. For instance, by buying something through my affiliate links. I've got Toman over here and Sweetwater over here. Links are also in the description, by the way. It's ytstudio.com/Toman or ytstudio.com/Sweetwater. If you use my affiliate links and buy something in one of those shops, a little bit of your purchase gets kicked back to me. You're not paying anything extra for your gear, and you're getting your gear. Wow. Another way to support me is by becoming a channel member. You can do that on YouTube or on Patreon, which I'll link over here. Last way to support me and the whole YouTube platform is by staying on it and watching more videos. So I'm going to link one of my videos over here, but YouTube will do its best to recommend other stuff around this video as well. Thanks a lot for watching, keep pushing, and bye bye.